I've done kind of a bunch of different things in my life. I'm very blessed to have I guess, the risk tolerance for taking a chance and not being afraid. And when you have a loss or you fail, I have the ability just to get up and brush it off and go again, which is part of being an entrepreneur. So what I really like to, instead of talking about my life, is really to have some more questions. And honestly, that's where I find I get the most feedback, the most entertaining part when I'm speaking to young group of people. And I love questions and love to help answer them.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
So, where did the story of the name?
In first grade, I wrote on a piece of paper, and on the left side, the teacher said, put your name on the left side, go against the edge and write your name, and write Tony. And so I wrote Tony on the left side, and then they said, okay, we have to write a formal letter, and we're going to put your name on the right side of the paper. So I went with the T on the edge and went O-M-Y backwards. I brought the paper home. My mom's like, what is why not? They've called me it ever since. So when I went to go open up a restaurant, I was 19 years old. I can remember exactly where I was the day I was doing it. I was sitting with a pizzeria owner up in New Jersey, and I had a list of like 10 different names of what my restaurant was going to be named. And it was like Tony's Pizza, Villa Pizza, all these crazy names. And then I wrote why not on the bottom, like I wasn't 100% sure. And the owner of the restaurant, Larry Cobble, looked at it and he goes, what the heck is why not pizza? And I'm like, I said my name backwards. He goes, that's it. I was convinced at that point, and the best part about it is the kids. It's been great with the little kids. It's something called mirroring. I didn't know, maybe I had this as a young kid. It's called mirroring, and young kids have this mirroring thing where they see things backwards. And it's interesting because the little kids in our restaurants see it quicker than anybody. Like, they'll say, Mom, do you know what his name is backwards? It's Tony. And like the parents are like, what are you talking about? That's how it happens. So it's kind of fun. They worked out really well. It works with everything too. I opened up a bakery. It's Why Not Bakery, Why Not Delicatessen, Why Not everything. So it's kind of fun. My construction company is Why Not Build. So everybody's like, I was just at a building conference. Yeah, I was at a building conference in Orlando 2 weeks ago, and everybody's like, God, I love your name. And I'm like, it just works. Yeah. So it's fun. Why not? Okay, what else? Yes.
Kind of building off of that, you set yourself up pretty well to be able to diversify the branding and the possible revenue. When did you make the decision to start trying to diversify those revenue streams?
As far as being in different industries? Yeah. So obviously there's a couple things. So diversifying not only in the restaurant industry has worked really well for us with opening multiple locations. We went from 2 locations at the first location all the way up to 6 locations and back down to 2. We closed 4 stores or sold them. We really sold them. Realizing that scalability was important to us. So how do we scale? So what we decided at that point was scaling takes systems, right? So we didn't have the right systems in place, so what we ended up doing is selling. So now we're back at the 7 locations. We franchised 7 years ago, primarily for structure purposes. So now we have this many manuals and this many procedures, and now everything's digitally and video-based. So diversification of that, so by having multiple locations, it's helping diversify. Okay, so if I have one store that's struggling and the other stores are doing great, which is going to happen in any business. But as far as construction-wise, construction kind of happened out of choice and not necessarily wanting to pay everybody to do every little job. So all of a sudden I need a little bit of tile work, so I learned how to tile. I need a little stonework, I learned how to do stonework. Then I started building rental properties. And so then I hired the first GC on my rental property, and he was the most unorganized person in the world. And I'm like, well, I know I can do this way better than him, and I can run an Excel spreadsheet better than him. So then I started GCing my own projects, and so kind of put me into construction. And then rental properties the same way. So when you start as an entrepreneur, look and say, okay, the restaurant industry is probably one of the most difficult industries there is. So I started buying investment properties. So, and my wife didn't like it necessarily because anytime I had a little bit of profit, I would just take it and put it into a new investment property, which caused her to struggle to never have money. And I was always investing in. And that's how I'm driven. So, yes.
So to add on to that, you previously had a location on Monarch Way.
I did.
That closed down, and so it has now turned into a Domino's Pizza.
I heard that.
And there's a Pizza Fusion across the street.
I heard that.
So lots of competition going on there. Can you tell us a little bit about what went in as far as the dynamics to close that down and what the decision was like?
Sure. So we did one on ticks, so we were selling pizza all over campus, OU football. So we had this great idea, we're going to open up on Monarch Way to be able to feed the football stadium. Well, it turned out that the football stadium, the business was way too big for that little store because we couldn't produce enough product. So we ended up buying a truck. I don't know if you've ever seen our truck on campus, but we could do 100 pizzas an hour out of that truck. So it's a lot of pizza. But then also Monarch Way was a great location for us that we perceived it was a good location, not knowing the demographics of the campus, how people ate on campus, and Monarch Way was kind of on the back side of campus. And really it felt like the trend was they were trying to keep everybody on this side of campus, and then there's 9 places for free pizza with the Jack card. What do you guys call your card? Jamie uses Jack card, but anyway, your meal plan card is good in pizzerias and stuff like that. So economics, it didn't truly work with our brand on campus. So we determined that we bought the truck for $100,000 and said, hey, we don't need the store. So we decided to close it at that point. Was it ever good to close the store? No, it cost a lot of money. So we lost a lot of money with that store, but it's okay. The way I look at a loss is an opportunity for me, so it definitely taught us something. So somebody goes to me when we expand out to Charlottesville and say, hey, do you want to open on the campus of UVA? Probably not. I'll probably stay in the neighborhood and stay with our family model, and that's what we are. Awesome. Who's next? What do you have for me? Not yet? Okay.
Recipes.
Recipes.
He's not gonna give it to you.
I don't know. We're gonna have like a long conversation.
You learned it from? Was it a grandmother?
You know, so it's a great question though. So I started out as a little kid working in my mom's kitchen. You know, just kind of like, you know, I was always the one who would clean the stove, and I was really driven as a young kid to be because my grandfather used to make sauce every Sunday. Gravy, he called it. But I thought my grandfather was the greatest cook. Come to find out that he only did one thing a week was make gravy on Sundays. But I thought he was this great chef, but he really wasn't. He just made it matter on Sunday, took the credit for the rest of the week. As a kid at 15 years old, I started working. So I worked in 25 different restaurants before I opened my own. So I actually took a little bit from every person. Like our marinara recipe is my baby. I mean, that's where our base of everything that we do really comes out of our marinara. But nobody can have the recipe. And then my grandmother's Caesar dressing, so that's my grandmother's from when I was a little kid. So I took her dressing down halfway bottle from Massachusetts for us. I have a company that makes it for me, and then distributes right back to us. So a lot of our recipes and stuff like that are very close knit. They're held on to. But recipes and quality food is one aspect of what we do. It really is. It's my foundation, right? But you have so much more in business to do with just food. You can be the greatest chef in the world and lose your business. You can be the greatest quarterback. Doesn't mean you can be a great coach, right? There's no doubt. Right? So it's very similar to that. And you can look at sports a lot of how it relates to business as well. It's interesting. Yes?
You mentioned the fact of kind of bringing the guy on that wasn't too organized. You know, you saw that you could do a little bit better job than him, but obviously, even if you diversify, that's not scalable for you to do everything. Do you have any tips that you've seen to be helpful along the way of really locating somebody that could be of prime value to more of your managerial aspect of your business, helping you grow the business more than simply focusing on having a job?
So there's a difference between a job, and so the other part of having a job is responsibilities. So if I have a guy that comes in every day and it's just a job, he's not my guy to run a restaurant. Yeah. I need a guy that understands responsibility. Does he understand what it is to grow profit? Does he understand scheduling? Does he understand the dynamics of a business? Do you want to succeed? That's a guy that has responsibility, or a female that has responsibility. Like I just hired a lady. She's from Jamaica. She's 54 years old. She's going to be our new GM in one of our stores. Well, this lady comes in every day and she wants to know everything that's happening and how am I going to grow a business and where are we getting more sales from? She's responsibility. Yeah. It's not a job. So you really want to look for somebody that has, like a typical thing, that somebody that has responsibilities would have hobbies, right? They love to do creative things outside of work. They're busier people. So a lot of things I look for. Like I love photography and I love sports. And so these are things that outside extracurricular mind that I do. But I would really look for somebody that has self-worth and really wants to do better every day. So when I get up every day, I want to be better than yesterday. Every day, no matter people think, oh my gosh, you're successful, you're doing all this stuff. I want to be better. I think today is over. tomorrow's another day, and what can I do better? And I'm driven that way. Yes.
Did you ever struggle financially starting out? Or do you have any advice for any of us that want to start a business, that's financially being advice?
Sure. I started out with, I had about $15,000 in my name before I started my business. I borrowed $60,000 from my grandfather. I paid him back in 1 year. I think you need to be extremely self-disciplined with money. There's a big risk, and I can't tell you there's not. My biggest thing is just stay focused and structured with your money and finances, and I would look for external help with your finances as well. I wish when I was 23 years old that I had somebody to help me financially, but what I did do when I was young is I had the right lawyer, the right accountant immediately. So I put my finances that way. I was completely underfunded when I started my business. I mean, completely underfunded. If somebody told me today that they were going to open a restaurant and they only had $60,000, I'd tell them, find a different business or do something with the magnitude that I built it in. So it's very important that you have enough money. I don't want to say lucky because I was so driven. I was working 120 hours a week, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is, if I looked at a young person that was going to start a business, I would probably coach them a little bit further to have that rainy day fund or enough money that they can make sure they get their marketing right first, because marketing is essential. So if you have a great brand and a great product, how are you telling everybody about it? Unfortunately, you need money. Today's a little bit easier. You guys have a huge advantage today with social media. Crazy huge advantage. My daughter just started her own business. The same thing, but she's crazy good at likes and all this stuff. She's a little kid. That's just, she's blowing it up. She's selling all over the country. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting. But financially, self-discipline is everything. It really is. I mean, are you going out to dinner tonight or not? You know what I mean? And we still, even where I'm in business, you know, I force to budget my house and my children and making sure that we're spending money consciously. Because for me, it's about opening the next location or buying an external property or making sure that, hey, if we run into a recessionary period like we're in right now, how do we handle that? Are we prepared? Are we tightening the belt? Because in my business, we see recessions quicker than the natural economy. We've been in a recession for the last year, the entire food industry throughout the entire country. And most people don't realize that, but we are, because they see the stock market and say, wow, the country's doing great, but we are truly in a recession right now. Most of my major manufacturers said 17 was a tough year. They expect 18 to be even harder and possibly in a full-blown recession by next year in the food industry. So, and these are major manufacturers. I mean, they supply the entire country. What else do you have? You have a question?
Oh, yeah, so I just wanted to talk about the franchise aspect. What's the process like? Why not franchise?
Franchise, amazing process. So in franchising, you have to realize we're no longer in the food business. It's not the food business at all. So if you have a construction company, if you're selling nuts and bolts, if you're a massage therapist, then it's all the same identical business, okay? It's about a system. If I had to sum up franchising in one word, it's systems. All it is. Okay, so we're getting ready to open in Richmond, Raleigh, Fairfax in the next 2 years. Okay, so we're probably in Richmond at the end of the year. So what it is, we've taken our entire company and systemized every single thing about our company, whether it's how you sweep the floor, how you wash the windows, how you make a pizza, how you saute chicken parmesan or chicken franchise, all of those little details, and a lot of it's video-based and everything. So it's a complete system. How do we do accounting? How do we do labor costs? How are you purchasing? All those systems have to be in place before you franchise. But that's truly what makes a successful franchise. So if you're coming to buy a why not franchise, you're buying a system. That's what you're buying. You're not buying a food business. You're buying a system. That's really what it is. And that's I'm a system. I'm crazy.
How did you decide to franchise? What was your thought process to do that?
So when I opened in '93, we started out with logoed shirts, and we were very systematic from the get. So in '93, did I think I was ever going to franchise? Not really, but I trademarked my logos. I trademarked everything in '93 as a young kid. Like I said, when we went to 6 and went down to 2, I realized that, hey, we went to a convention, and there was a guy sitting at the convention and said, hey, have you guys ever thought about franchise? Because at that point, we were doing partnerships. So we were giving somebody 10% or 20% of a partnership. And then all of a sudden, you walk in, and the partner goes, he says, hey, I want to wear teal shirts. And I'm like, our shirts are black and red. He goes, no, but I really want to wear teal shirts. I'm like, we're not wearing teal shirts. So you get into these long arguments about having these partners want to change. So then you franchise. The very first franchise store we had, I walk in the second week in business, and we look up on the board and it says happy hour. So our company's families, so we're like, we don't do happy hour, why not? And the franchisee and the wife got all upset and were horrible, and I'm like, it doesn't really matter, you signed a franchise document. And that's the difference. So that brand, you know, it's brand protection is what it is for us. Yes?
So Ynot has a very family-oriented culture, and I was wondering, what are some of the initiatives that you've implemented to kind of enforce that and make sure that that is standard between all your franchises?
So it's really about culture, right? So when you talk about business, it's about the culture. It's about what do you do with culture. So we have 3 legs to our company. And a very important thing if you're developing a company is to understand what your 3 pillars are. Your 3 triangles, I don't care what it is. So ours is family, community, and quality. So family ties into that community, right? So I'm serving food, so it's about how is your restaurant designed. So we have tile floors in all of our restaurants. Customer comes in with their little kid, there's Cheerios all over the floor. All right, and I walk on, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's exactly why we tile the floor, because we love Cheerios on our floor. So it's the culture from that point. When they walk in the door, they feel comfortable bringing their 2-year-old into the restaurant. If it's, our restaurants are typically a little bit louder than a normal fine dining restaurant. We don't have tablecloths. We don't put candles on the table. We make it family friendly. Second off, we sponsor probably everything in town. We probably sponsor 10,000 Little League players, about 8,000 soccer players. So we're constantly in the community and doing with the community. But it has to be from A to Z. It has to be everything. You have to be consistent. If you say you're a family brand, you've got to be consistent all along the board. We give pizza dough to our children, the kids, and they come in the restaurant. They make little dough things, and we take pictures, and we have a dough face thing on our Pinterest page. And so we really emphasize what's going on with the families and making sure they're part of our family. When there's somebody has a birthday in our restaurant, first thing I do is I walk up to the table and I thank them. Thank you so much for coming to our restaurant. I know you had so many choices to have your birthday party, and that's what it is. It's really staying consistent with that brand. But like to your point with management-wise, we have to make sure that we are hiring that personality that likes families. And if you work for us, you better like kids. Like I've had service someday, I can't stand kids. I'm like, well, you're working in the wrong place because that's who we are. It's a great question because it's a culture. You have to understand what the culture promise of your brand is. Go ahead.
Of your locations, which one is your most successful?
First one I opened. So it's I call it the mothership, and it's where I'm at every day. And I don't know if it's because I'm there, but I'm sure it has a lot to do with it. I just built a brand new location down by the courthouse in Virginia Beach, and you know I called it this first store I've ever built from the ground up, and I designed it on my kitchen table for almost 2 months. I drew it all on graph paper, and the design is beautiful. It's everything I ever dreamed it would be, and but I'm still beating it. But I have a great operator that his kid started with me at 19 years old, started cooking with me, and worked his way up. Didn't talk to me the first 3 years he worked for me, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one of my GMs quit and or left me. I can't remember the reason, but I said to him, "Hey," I said, "Chico, do you want an opportunity to be a GM?" He goes, "Scared to death, this kid, you know." And I'm like, he's a kid moved here from Puerto Rico at 3 years old. Didn't speak English for the first 2 years he was here. But you want to talk about a diamond in the rough? I put this guy in my GM role, and all of a sudden he's talking to the tables, and he's got this soft demeanor, and people are like melding with this kid. And I'm like, all of a sudden, so I trained him for the next 6 years, and now he owns an enormous 8,000 square foot restaurant. But he's a 25% partner with us, so he worked his way up, and now he's an owner. And almost all of our stores, that's how all the owners are. They came from within.
Yeah, talking about that, it's funny you told that story. I was at the IFA convention.
Really? Oh yeah, that's right. I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah. So you know Don Cohen?
Yes.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time together down the convention, and so on the last day, he's like, "I want you to move to Atlanta and come work for me at American Bakery." He's like, "I'll have you a manager in 6 months," and then he kept like joking about the thing. He was like, "So you coming to Atlanta? Well, I see you on Monday." And it was just funny. And then I came back and I told my mom, and she was like, "I was like, I don't want to move to Atlanta. Like, I don't want to, you know." But my mom was saying, like, you know, keep that open because you never know where that could lead to. You know, we're never going to have the best inventory like I do through, you know.
Right. It's so great seeing you out in the IFA. It was interesting. I walking down the aisle and just talking to this booth, and it turned out he's from like Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach. So it was really interesting meeting you there. That convention's amazing. You know, you sit around the table. So we have these roundtable events and those things. So sitting around the table with all these restaurants or businesses, they have 200 locations, 300 locations. You have 50, and you're sitting around this table and you start talking about all the processes and procedures and training methods and there's somebody you were sitting with 500 tables. You're like, well, we're not even doing it yet, but they have 500 locations. So if I have one person, I had 10 people tell me, what are you waiting for? Why have you not gone crazy and opened up 200 stores? And the one thing that I've come to realize is most of these businesses with 200, 300, 500 locations, the founder's no longer there. It's gone. He sold the business. So now what happens at that point? It becomes a less emotional decision to open up a restaurant, open up a business, open up a nail salon. For me, I want to, it's my baby. I want to perfect it. It's like sending your child to college, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, and I have two daughters in college, but it's gone. So, and I had all these people were telling me, look, you're never going to perfect it 100%. And they said, you're going to spend more money on perfecting that last 20% and time than you did on the 80%. So that's where I've had to come to the realization that I need to let my brand grow. And people ask me all the time, like, you know, we're doing great, we're successful, we have amazing restaurants, and they're like, why do you want a franchise? Why would you do that? Why do you want to open up all these stores? And I told him, I said, for me, it's like owning a black stallion. He's sitting in the garage. I put him in my garage. There's a black big horse ready to run, and you never let him run. So for me, it's I want to take him to the racetrack, see if he can run. If he does great, if he breaks a leg the first time out, then I may only have one store out of the area. But if he runs like a banshee, then I'll probably have 50 of them. So, but 50 for me is huge. It's a big number. Yes, ma'am.
Did you say you were from Jersey?
I am from Jersey.
Okay, so what brought you down to Hampton Roads and what made you decide to open up your first location?
I lived in down the shore of Jersey at the beach, right by Cape May, New Jersey, if anybody knows that. So I grew up there as a young kid, and there's no economy, right? So like I said, it's 4 months of hurry, 8 months away. There's no business at all in the winter. It's dead. They roll the sidewalks up and put them away. So at that point, I ended up moving to up by Manhattan, right by Giant Stadium, 10 minutes from Giant Stadium. So crazy busy life. I mean, driving up there, you're taking your life in your own hands. And it's crazy fast. The pace is fast. Awesome. Probably one of the best things I ever did. Even my daughter graduated JMU in May. I told her, you will live in DC or New York for 2 years. I don't care where you go, but there's your options because of the pace and the speed. It gave me a huge advantage when I moved here. My brother was working in Edgewood in New Jersey in the coffee facility up there, Hills Brothers Coffee. They moved to Suffolk. He left, and I was up there by myself with my future wife at that point. And I decided it was time to move. So I moved down to Virginia Beach, found the location at the Great Neck Square Shopping Center. There was no spaces available. I did my demographics. I worked with Bill Holleran from the Small Business Development Center, sat down. He gave me this huge study, 800-page study on how to own a pizzeria. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I was young. I was a very young kid. I was very cocky from Jersey and thought I knew everything. And he gave me that study, and I found the location. There was nothing available. So at this point, I'm struggling. I don't have a lot of money. I'm working multiple jobs. I'm working 100 hours a week at this point. Then I went back up to New Jersey for the summers and worked in pizzerias up there that knew me and made a fair amount of money up there. And I got a phone call 2 years later. It says, hey, if you want a spot in this shopping center, it's available. So I had to sign right then at 23 years old and took a chance. It worked, but it was definitely, I was blind faith at that point. I was young and, was aggressive. Wasn't even married. I opened in June of '93. Was married in October. So that's typical in my life, though. It's normal. What else? Yes.
Where did you learn about the real estate business? Teach yourself?
I kind of self-taught in a sense. So basically, I bought my first house before I actually opened my business. We rented out on Kempsville Road. Sold that house, bought another house, refinanced that house, bought another house, sold that house, bought 2 more houses, just little by little. I don't know, I'm kind of a built risk taker, and I don't know how I did that. I kind of often wondered into that myself, but it was just kind of not having that fear, and just really just taking a chance. And I have to tell you, probably one attribute of a entrepreneur is to have to be a risk taker in a sense. You can't be afraid. I mean, obviously, going back, I would definitely try to be a little more calculated, and as with wisdom, as we all with wisdom, as we get older, wisdom definitely helps. So I like to say, surround yourself with greatness. If you want to look at doing something, surround yourself with people that are maybe in the same industry or something, so you can learn from their mistakes.
Yeah, that's the big challenge.
What's that real estate? It's a great business. Great business, and it's knowing. So if you were buying homes, I'd tell you, you make money when you buy, not when you sell. And if that's the one thing you can remember about that, you make money when you buy. Okay, so important. Who else has a question? Everybody else? I want people being quiet.
Question?
Yes, ma'am.
Very specific.
I love your hat.
Thank you. When it comes to marketing your baby, what's your experience been working with television crews or studios that make commercials for you? Or how do you communicate with them what you're trying to convey?
Very, very difficult. This is a great question, by the way, too, because when you are marketing, right, so I have my vision of my brand, right, so it's very hard to articulate that to people and actually have them produce something that's in your mind, right? So I can't tell you how many times that somebody produces a print ad or a TV commercial without my input. It's not very successful. So you really have to, your communication skills are critical. So if you're trying to sell something, it's not like when you're selling a new car and the smell of the car. So a lot of times I look at my brand and it's kind of a funny situation. So the one thing I study a lot when I'm marketing is cigarette commercials from the 1960s, right? Why do you think I do that?
They got so many books.
It's something that kills you. Something that's so bad for you. So the sex appeal, and it's amazing when you watch these commercials. It's like they're selling cigarettes, but it's like it's so dynamic. So I'm like, gosh, if I could do that same commercial with my food, what would that do? Right? So things like that. So what's relevant to your brand? I know it doesn't say family, but it's really just a different philosophy on how to market. It's really coming from within. You have to project that to somebody that's actually going to produce a commercial or do something like that.
What are the things that you do to minimize risk, and what is your advice for some of the more conservative businessmen?
So the one thing I said to minimize, he said to minimize your risk, right? So education is everything. Reading. I read a ton. Before I built my first homes, I was all about reading. And YouTube's amazing. I wish I had YouTube 10 years ago. I use it all the time, believe it or not, whether it's business practices, whether it's, if you are conservative, so being a conservative person, you're probably it doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful being conservative, but you'll probably make less mistakes than I made. I'm making way more mistakes than you will make because you're going to take your time. But you also may not expand as fast or take as many chances and may lose some opportunities. But is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know, because losing is never good. It never feels good at all. So at points where my brother and I are in business with my wife and my wife and my brother are extremely conservative, the devil's advocates, linked with me, which I probably need both of them to calm me down, trust me. But so they give me that aspect to be a little more conservative, to make me think that extra second before I make that decision. And it doesn't always work for them, trust me, because I'm pretty adamant about what I do. You have a question? Okay. Yeah, so, but I would just do your research. Read as much as you can. Research it. I grew up with encyclopedias as a kid, so I'm old. But, it's just much more difficult. Much more difficult. What do you have for me? Anything. Anything.
Is this is that like the first sort of business venture you took on, or was there other ones?
My very first business adventure. That's an interesting question. So my very first business adventure was at 8 years old. So I went to had a Jewish friend of mine. We were great friends, and we got in fights like 4 or 5 times and beat each other up. But we went to a wholesale candy shop, and we bought like Hubba Bubba, chocolate bars, all this stuff, and we set up this table at the ocean front when people would come off the beach, and we would sell them candy every day as kids. And we made a fair amount of money for 8 years old. We thought we were rich, and you know, it was great. But no, I was blessed to be in a lot of industries as a young kid. So my first job was at 9 years old. It was a sales job. My mom owned a macrame store, and they sold Mexican pottery. So I wear a sombrero, and I was selling Mexican pottery at 9 years old. I was working 60 hours a week. My dad and mom paid me $10. I mean, I should have called the labor board at that point. But, you know, so I've had an interesting path to my success, and I truly believe it's where I grew up as a kid and being exposed to customers. Imagine being 9 years old having to sell strangers walking up to you and you're saying, "Hey, would you like some pottery?" And so I don't know why it happened to me that way, but I had a great opportunity as a young kid.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, make sure to follow @Strome EC to tune in next time.